There we go. There we go. All right. For those of you that have noticed, I'm the only one here. So JP has his wisdom teeth being taken out. So this is going to be a comment heavy show. I know we got a lot to talk about. First things first. As you can see, the Join One Oklahoma Trav. The reason for the season, for the big news today, not only getting a couple wide receivers, but really burying the lead here, getting John Mateer, comes down to a Join One Oklahoma. So One Oklahoma, the biggest deal to date by them. So make sure you hop in there, check them out, set something up. I am going to continue to be drinking Horns Down apple pie because they donate to One Oklahoma. They do specifically baseball, and baseball season's coming up. So I'm going to be pouring up. For those of you that can tell, I am doing this show outside. So cheers to you. That means probably I'm going to be lighting up a cigar to celebrate. So initial thoughts, obviously, we're winning 8 natties like LeBron. I think you got to count a little better there. Mateer for the party says, get back, guy. Tell you what, JP, no excuses. Play like a champion, right? Right. But, big day. I'll tell you what, Brent Venables has had Mario Cristobal's number, hasn't he? David Stone, Devon Mitchell was down to Miami and Oklahoma. James Nesta was down to, I believe, Miami, North Carolina, and Oklahoma. Jaden Jackson, I believe, was at least early on. They thought, Miami would be the move. Pulling EPL out of there. Now they go head to head, and John Mateer. They've got all this stuff to sell him. They've got his buddy Cam Ward. They've got all these returners on the offensive line. They've got this, that, and the other, and none of it mattered because Arbuckle and One Oklahoma brought them home. So, Coyote says still got to win in 2025, for sure. I think this helps you win in 2025. I do think that you're gonna need probably another offensive lineman maybe to come in and compete. Again, competition is going to be a common theme for me. I'm not a guy who thinks that it's good or helpful in any way for people to be handed the job when they arrive. I think just in general, you don't get the most out of people if you give them the job before they have to earn it. I think, Mateer gets on campus, you've got Hawkins there. I think you compete. Everybody thinks, John Mateer, man, he was number one player in the portal. He knows the offense. Good. That should give him an advantage in the competition. But I still think the upside of Michael Hawkins is great. So I think you make it a competition. And if you make him compete, you can hear the dog going nuts back there. If you make him compete, then he's going to be better for it. He's going to be a better player. So, anyways, I'm now holding my microphone. I wasn't before. Hopefully, you guys can hear me a little bit better. Let's see. Any money left for portal additions and retention? Eric, that's an incredible point. I brought this up. Let's see, yesterday, 2 days ago. I don't know. Every day is long when you're waiting on portal news, right? What I brought up was Oklahoma is in a very unique position as it comes to retention and recruiting. Not a lot of 6-6 teams have one side of the ball that has freshman All-Americans like Jaden Jackson and Eli Bowen that every team's coming after. They don't have guys like R. Mason Thomas, who we're trying to pull back from the NFL draft. They don't have guys like RSJ, like the Bowen brothers, like Danny Okoye, like Dominic Williams, like all these guys that are big time players or have big time futures at Oklahoma, you often don't find those on 6-6 teams. So then you say, okay, well then why do we need so many people out of the portal? Or why did we go 6-6 if one side of the ball is so great? It's because the other side needs acquisitions. You need to go out and get wide receivers. You need to go out and get another quarterback, right? So it's interesting, where do you split the money? If you know that all these defenders are going to need more money, and maybe they're needing even more money because, they're getting a call saying, hey, we'll double what you're paying Oklahoma. I mean, at a certain point, it's just so tough to keep up with. With that being said, I mean, I would assume they've got a little more money. I mean, I know some of the numbers of the wide receivers that left, and I don't necessarily, think that we downgraded all that much when you think of availability versus cost. I think you're going to continue to see a kind of a value proposition, right? With your portal entries, with your retention, everything like that. If you have one player that maybe he's not getting on the field, maybe he's hurt, maybe he's coming off a lower leg injury, and he wants I don't know, $800,000, or you can get a wide receiver that has good production, has size, maybe not at the power forward level, but he's been available. You know what I mean? And you can get him for, again, I'm just throwing out numbers here, but if you can get him for 3 or 4, I mean, why wouldn't you do that, right? Like paying a guy off an injury, big money, just because some other school will overpay, is not something that I would probably get too wrapped up in. So we're going to do a pretty heavy Q&A show tonight. I am, popping over on my TV behind. I'm going to do the basketball game. I forget what channel is the basketball game on, right? T-Light. Oh, man. I forget that people rewatching this can't see all the comments. But sing an a cappella ballad to celebrate the news. Are ballads sad? No, ballads are love songs. I would probably sing a ballad to, I don't know, would it be to Ben Arbuckle? Would it be to one Oklahoma CEO, Jeff Weber? Would it be to John Mateer himself? Would it be to Brent Venables? Who's got to manage this whole dang thing anyways. I don't know. I probably will not be singing this evening. JP's the dancer. I've got to figure out some type of talent. I cook. That's about it. I cook. But other than that, oh, good. Kirby's here. He can take care of that for us. So, all right, look at that. Hopping over on ESPN2. Y'all, we're in our bag right here. So, the OFH, RMT gonna stay, Trav. I mean, I hope. I know that obviously you knocked down the big pin, right, of John Mateer. You've got him signed, sealed, delivered, good to go. You've locked down your OC. In my mind, OFH, my top priority at that point is things like Robert Spears Jennings and R. Mason Thomas. Like, if you think of like gap insurance and extra NIL money that brought back Billy Bowman and Danny Stutzman from a year ago after All-American seasons, you're going to want to kind of look that way. Now, obviously, we have guys to pay this year that were freshman All-Americans that it is kind of odd because in the past you could watch the freshman All-American teams and go, oh, sweet. Oh, you've got 2 of them on there. And yet I know that, some of the NIL people were probably like, oh, God, we got 2 of them on there. You know what I mean? Because those are things that you put on the resume and you say, hey, look, I performed at this level. I'm a freshman All-American. I think it was Teddy that put it out. It's like a billboard right there. Like, hey, come tamper with me. You see me on this freshman All-American list? Come tamper with me. So I hope he stays. I hope R. Mason Thomas stays. I think that he has a lot to gain from staying. I think he can put another year on film. I think he's established himself as one of the premier pass rushers. We'll be interested to see, what draft folks tell him. But I think R. Mason Thomas will be back. if nothing else than just the gut. But if you guys would allow me, if you and my mom in the chat always being supportive. Appreciate you, Mom. Mom had Arbuckle and Mateer to the Sooners weeks ago, so she should start a subscription channel. But Kirby, I can't put any of your comments up there. But if any of you all would spare me just 30 seconds, I got to light up a cigar to celebrate today's happening. So if you don't mind, chat, fill up with some questions real quick, and I'll get to them on the other side of this lighting. Lighter's out of fuel. That's what you have when you have a 5-torch lighter. So I'm grabbing matches. Don't go anywhere. It's a live show, people. It's a live show. This is just how things go on a live show. At least I haven't muted my mic. That's usually my problem. So we're going old school with some matches. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now we are properly celebrating the John Mateer news. So, Kirby, I remember my first cigar. It was my lighter. It's one of these 5-torch guys. They go through fuel extremely quickly. I just spent 6 days in Colorado. Had to bring it there, of course. But had a couple questions, of course. First off, most important question: what kind of cigar? I'm smoking a Monte Cristo White Series. See if the light can get to you in some way. But anyways, so good cigar, something light for a Wednesday night. William Stang. Now, I assume you're talking about Dominic. There's also a Gentry Williams that looked like a first-round corner whenever he was healthy. 918 guy, of course. But, yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think so. I think that, look, when you're talking about returners, right, roster moves, there's only so much room, and there's only so many ways to get into a rotation, right? So DJ Terry is gone, right? We offer a couple more defensive linemen to take his spot. I think when I was hearing people talk about what numbers that Dominic Williams might be getting, when those numbers started coming up and kind of spoke in a past tense sense, Champ Sanders hits the portal. No, I'm not saying that because Champ Sanders hit the portal, you've got a guarantee that Dominic Williams is coming back. I'm not saying that. But there's also a little bit of, I don't know, there's a little bit of, tea leaves, I guess you could read, or tobacco leaves for that matter. So I would lean yes right now, Dominic Williams returning. I think in these days, with all these guys needing to go train for NFL, this kind of stuff, and all, I would probably suspect to see some announcements pretty soon. Obviously, Danny announced. Obviously, Billy announced. Obviously, Devon Sears announced. Like, all these people, like, they've announced. If it were me, I would, if I had plans to go to the NFL, I would announce them immediately. Because here's the thing. R. Mason Thomas, when he says, I need to talk to my family, I get that. I totally get that. Respect that. I would have to talk to mine. But I would talk to mine the entire year and kind of have a, hey, look, end of the season, if we get this draft rating up, let's go. If we don't, let's come back. If we can get this NIL amount, let's stay. If not, let's go. Let's portal, whatever. Like, those kind of conversations don't necessarily need to start taking place 2 weeks after. Kind of like tampering. The parents can tamper in that discussion and say, hey, look, and agents talk to these guys all the time. There are freshmen and sophomores right now that are getting talked to by agents saying, hey, right now we are projecting you to be this. We're projecting you to be that. And so with that, like, it's not like recruiting rules. Like, agents can't wait. Okay, they're finally draft eligible. I can pick up the phone now and see if they can, if they want to sign with my agency and I can represent the draft. Like, no, these people have agents and they're talking to NFL people for a long time before they get to this level. So we've got make a prediction from Owen Field Hype. OFH changed their name, but no Black and Milds. I'll try not to blow in the camera all that too much. Thoughts on Zac Alley? Look, Zac Alley's situation is an interesting one because a lot of people look at it and say, why would you leave Oklahoma to go to West Virginia? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Money. If West Virginia wanted to back up the Brinks truck and pay him even more, sure. He's been the defensive coordinator under Rich Rod before. I don't know what their relationship is like, but I have to assume it's probably pretty good, especially if he's going back again and wanting him to join him. Also, hiring the guy, like, whenever we held Bama to 3 points, did Zac Alley get the headline? No. Come on. It was Brent Venables. Anything Brent Venables does, or anything the defense does that's good, gets Brent Venables. Anything that the defense does poorly, Ted Roof, right? That's what we hear about. Oh, man, Ted Roof stunk. Well, when it was good, when Oklahoma got that goal line stand against Texas, everybody said Venables brought defense back to Oklahoma, right? Well, but then when it sputtered, it was all Roof's fault. So there's a bit of optics why Zac Alley might, want to spread his wings a bit. But all that being said, I don't expect him to take the West Virginia job. I think Brent Venables looks at him and said, hey, look, keep winning here. Like, we finally got this thing, I think, ready in the right spot. We got the offense, we think, figured out. At least there's hope on that side of the ball. 4th year of the defense. Look who you've got coming in, right? You've got basically that foundational class from a year ago. A lot of people don't talk about the safeties. I think they really need to. I'm talking Michael Boganowski. I've got Hardy, and then I've got Reggie Powers. That trio is going to be nuts. Like, I feel a lot. I don't know. I feel like them, like I kind of felt about the linebacker class whenever we fought, whenever like, and I get these are two different classes, but like when you look at like Kip and like Lewis Carter and Samuel Masigo, and like you look at them and you say, okay, that's what we want in that position group. And that's what I see whenever I look at Hardy, Powers, and Boganowski. I'm wondering if there's a nickname for them given out yet. Not entirely sure. But again, Zac Alley has a lot of reasons to stay at Oklahoma. His mentor, everybody called him, Brent Venables' clone. Like, that's why he wants to stay at Oklahoma. With Zach Branch, Zachariah and Zion, Their number is going to be too big. And I don't think that we should pay it. Like, it's not a quarterback. You had to overpay somewhere, right? And really, is it overpaying for a guy like John Mateer if you now feel good about if you can bring in the number one player in the portal? I don't think Zac Branch is even like a top 10 player in the portal. Like, we all remember the highlight plays, and this is why sometimes Pac-12 After Dark, or I guess now Big Ten After Dark, has its benefits, where everybody remembers the highlight plays of Zac Branch, right? Well, you talk to USC fans, and they're like, dude can't run a route to save his life. He's explosive. He's fast. He's shifty. He's everything you want, but he can't run routes. But we see the excitement. We say, man, that guy. Here's a bold prediction. I think Deion Burks has better stats in 2025 than Zachariah Branch, wherever he ends up. The second part of that is you have to sign his brother too, and his brother's good. He's a safety. He's fine. But you're going to have, this is not unlike LT Overton's little brother, like Levius or something like that. He was like a package deal to A&M, and it was like, man, you could go after LT Overton, but you've got to bring on his brother. That was kind of the package deal. Or like Talon Shetron and his brother. Like it was a certain point where when you start talking big NIL bags and crunched roster spots, you really have a tough time, getting involved in the, hey, if you take me, you got to take my brother. Oh, if you pay me, you got to pay my brother. Like it really gets tough to get into those type of discussions because you have less money because the bags are bigger, and you've got less roster spots to deal with because the rosters are getting smaller. So, anyways, that's my take on the Branch situation. I don't see OU getting involved, and honestly, I wouldn't get involved if I were OU. Danny Okoye, prediction time. Let's go. Hey, you know me, love me some Danny. Was at his announcement, did radio from his announcement. He came on with us when he was supposed to be visiting Texas. He canceled his visit and came on when OU was playing TU here in Tulsa. Came on with Tyler and I. Awesome dude. He came in a radio with Tyler and I in studio when he actually went on his first visit. So it will be very hard to find a bigger Danny Okoye fan than me. So I'm all about that. Any wide receivers following Mateer? Obviously, his news came after we had already landed a couple wide receivers, right? So had 2 wide receivers brought in, and that's an interesting conversation, right? Because we talk about the roster crunch. How many wide receivers do you want on the roster, right? 10, 11, I think is the number that you kind of want to stick at, right? So you lose, 6, and you had 12, I think, on the roster. You lose 6, you sign 2 in Thomas and in Choice. So now you're 4 short of the 12. And then you sign these 2, now you're 2 short of 12, so you got 10. I think if we're going to an NFL model, you'll have 10 or 11. So do you go out and get one more? I think everybody's answer to that is yes. I don't think there's been a single college football fan in history that said, yeah, we're good. We don't want any more portal players. Come on now. We saw it last year with the offensive line, right? We got like 5 transfers. They're like, no, we need more. We need more. We need more. At a certain point, like you just gotta ride with who you got. And I like our additions so far. I like that they've been available. I like that they've got production. You didn't go out and spend on somebody that was a super highly ranked guy and has no college production, right? Like that's not really what I'm after. I would love to see like a Malachi Coleman get a look. I know for whatever reason the staff doesn't agree with me. Whatever. I think he would be great at OU. I know one Parker Thune agrees with me on that. Dolby Rehab, I haven't heard much about it. I do think he can play until he's like 30 now because of the new JUCO ruling. Diego Paiva coming back. That applies to Kendall Dolby as well. So I have not heard specifically how it's going. I can definitely look into that. Ask me next week, maybe. Oh, okay. Owen Field hype. If you're on Twitter, you're more than welcome to dive under there. But you can hop over to YouTube. It's kind of just a different type platform. I can still see all over 3,000 of you. I assume a lot of that's Twitter. I can look at the numbers later on YouTube. I do appreciate all of you jumping in. Keep the questions coming, absolutely. And if you're in here, go ahead and like the video. I want JP to look at this later once he's off his drugs from his wisdom teeth removal and be like, man, that video got a lot of likes. I'm glad everybody was happy. If you're happy that John Mateer is a Sooner, like the video. That's an easy way to tell. So this is an interesting conversation. Is Mateer a top 3 quarterback in the SEC? Well, I know that he led the NCAA in touchdowns last year. Granted, was not against SEC competition. I'm interested in. I don't know. I'm interested in how his run game translates, because we saw Michael Hawkins, who I have not timed them, but I'm based on how fast I know Michael Hawkins is, I'm not sure Mateer is quite as fast. And he couldn't run away from guys as well in the SEC as I saw him against some lesser competition. So it'll be interesting to see, Mateer's got 15 rushing touchdowns on the year. It'll be interesting to see, what that looks like. If he can get some man coverage downfield, he can take advantage of it, sure. But it'll be interesting to see how that side translates with the passing production translates. It's the rushing production that I'm interested by. Let's see. What can we expect from Devon Mitchell and the Washington State tackle? I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't think the Washington State tackle has committed anywhere. So I'm going to just speak on Devon Mitchell. Devon had some, like a lot of us in college, some growing up to do when he got here. But I was talking with somebody yesterday that said, hey, look, they really love this freshman guy. Won't stop talking about him. He's really, turned it around these last few weeks. His athleticism jumps off. I've seen him live multiple times. His athleticism is not like anything I've seen in person, like that up close. It's insane. So I'm still all in on Devon Mitchell. I'm still all in on like Caden Helms, McIntyre, Cade McIntyre, like those guys. But go in, get another tight end. Arbuckle's offense, when Arbuckle says, or when people look at Arbuckle's offense and says, whoa, look, tight end production isn't much. Arbuckle has said over and over, he calls to his personnel. He designs offense to his personnel. So with that, like, if you've got some big monster tight end, you will see tight end production. If you've got Deion Burks going nuts, Deion Burks will have a big year. Like, he looks at his room and says, and part of this might be playing at places where maybe he didn't have a talent advantage everywhere. And he said, hey, man, wherever I do have a talent advantage, I need to feed that. I need to feed that over and over. So that's what I would kind of suspect goes on at the tight end position is if he thinks he's got a dude there, you'll see tight end production go up. And then once tight end production goes up, then you'll start to see recruiting pick up. Let's see. Had to hit go down to the current comments. I see JP is in the chat now defending himself. So let's see. Okay. Any other offensive lineman? I think Corey Robinson from Georgia Tech said he is visiting tomorrow on his Twitter. So that's straight from the horse's mouth. I know a lot of people are getting caught up in the we reported this first. We reported this. We didn't report it, but we hinted at it. This is actually who said things first. So I'm just going to say this. The actual player said he's visiting tomorrow. And that's all I'm saying. I don't want to get caught up in this random war. I swear. I don't know if this happens at other schools, but OU's got more infighting than anything I've ever seen. except for that Texas stuff with the guy from Lowe's. But one of my favorite shows. I want you to put the word out there that we back up. If you have not seen The Wire, I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic show, and a lot of the gifs and memes that you guys use daily come from The Wire. A lot of people just don't know that, because I've asked people, have you seen The Wire? And they're like, no, I haven't. What's up? I show them that. They're like, oh yeah, I've seen that meme. I've used that meme all the time. So just continue to educate yourself. Let's see. Any new names since Mateer signed? Again, offensive linemen. They're still going after offensive linemen. I think they want a little more depth in that room, obviously. I mean, you lose Eugene Brooks. You lose Josh Bates. You lose Hickman. You lose Tarquin. You lose Brown. I think that's all so far. So, I mean, you lose 5. You brought in, 4 in this last class. You've already signed the guy from Stanford. So your numbers seem to be doing fine. At this point, it's, where do you want to upgrade? And I have long said this. Kirby hates it. It's just because he doesn't know ball. Offensive line is a developmental position in general. You need continuity. Texas had a great offensive line last year. You know how many changes to their starting 5 were made during the regular season? 0. You have to have continuity. So I think the talent in the room, just give them continuity, and you're going to be in great shape. So, yeah, we got 3,500 people in here. Like the video, folks. JP's all swollen up. Looks like his head looks like a pear right now. And let him see the likes in there. Smoking on a Monte Cristo White Series, something a little mild for the evening, something to celebrate though, right? Didn't want to. I got a lot of things going on. I got a bowl of grapes right here. I got my Horns Down Fine Spirits over there. Got the cigar. I'm manning everything because JP, like I said, he's a little swole up. So I didn't want to go anything too robust. You know what I mean? But people say weird stuff when they get their wisdom teeth pulled out. Yeah, absolutely. JP and I, for those of you that didn't see, we're up in Denver seeing our buddy Jamar Kane and Delarian Turner-Yell and Nick Benito and Marvin Mims and Ben Powers, all those guys. And yeah, JP was not having it. JP, we're sitting in the family and friends section, and JP, he's just like he is on Twitter. Y'all know. Just yapping. I'm like, yo, bro. It was the funniest thing. And then when Jonathan Taylor dropped that ball going across the goal line, JP sat down. He sat down. People still tried to get after him, but he wouldn't fall for their bait. I was proud of him. Let's see. Heard we might get another commit tonight or tomorrow. Now, I'm not going to speak specifically to who or what, but it does make sense that you get the quarterback in place, you get the momentum. And keep in mind, OU brought in a lot of transfer targets while Mateer was in town, right? And now that Mateer's committed, it's not like he's jumping on a 11 p.m. flight down to Boca Raton. Like, he's gonna be here, I imagine, the next couple of days. Like, that's not me reporting it. That's just logic trying to steer the conversation. Is if I'm John Mateer and they're like, hey man, so excited, look how excited the fan base is, this, that, and the other. Like, hey, we've got an offensive lineman coming in tomorrow. Do you want to stay and help recruit him? I'd be like, yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here the rest of the time. So, you get that advantage. You had wide receivers in visiting with Mateer. They're trying to push those conversations. Hey, build some chemistry, get to know each other, this, that, and the other. And then you're gonna want Mateer there, or as many visits as you can while Mateer is in town. So I expect some more additions, and some more additions quickly, really. Let's see. Kirby, one of these days you're going to say something I can actually put on the screen. Let's see. This is interesting, right? I think there will be changes. I don't think they're going to be the changes that some of fans on Twitter have asked for. People are wanting the medical staff tried for war crimes against the University of Oklahoma. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think there could be some communication things that they get better at. All I do is, I do that for a living with a lot of college and high school programs, work on communication style, things like that. So, hey, give me a ring, I'll come help you out. But anyways, I just don't think – I think there were certain things that the coaching staff and the training staff didn't see eye to eye on, and there was tension there. Now, the coaching staff, in my mind, probably has a bit more pull in the situation. But you got to be on the same page with your training staff, with your medical staff, everything like that. You can't have guys going and needing to get third-party stuff done, driving up to Edmond, doing stuff. Like, there's just got to – I don't think that the people in OU's medical office are idiots. I do not think they're unqualified. I think that you can fix this by fixing the communication between the coaching staff and the medical staff. Maybe a little group therapy. I don't know. But that's what I think is more of the problem, is the tension between the two causes problems. And if they're not communicating freely, it's a no-win situation. So let's see. This is an interesting question. I think a lot of us have been long under the impression that neither of the co-offensive coordinators would be retained going into next year. I still think that a guy like Joe John, after the bowl game, he's going to call a bowl game. After the bowl game, may have some opportunities elsewhere. I don't know. He was looked at for a time as a bright, young offensive mind. So, he might have some opportunities elsewhere. I know that, DeMarco Murray, talked to some people as recently as this past weekend that think that he might be NFL bound in the offseason. Who knows? I think that there are so many changes coming to college football in general that maybe he might dip his toe and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll try this NFL thing out. Don't know, but I think those would be the two that if I had to, put my life on it, would be the ones that are probably the least likely to be on staff next year. But when I say least likely, that's like it could be a 1% chance they're gone or a 3% chance they're gone. If the rest of the staff is 0% chance they're gone and somebody else is 3% chance they're gone, then the 3% is the most likely to not be on staff. I'm not saying that any of that is greater than 50%. So let's see. Yeah, med staff would be one of my first questions to the coach that was recruiting my kid. And that's what it's got to come down to, Boomer, is the medical staff not qualified, or are there processes that need to change? You can change processes without changing personnel. It's like the Bauer Sharp thing, right? Is Bauer Sharp a terrible tight end? LSU doesn't think so, right? Are they going to use them differently? Was the personnel the issue, or was the process the issue? Well, if he goes out and balls out, it was obviously a process issue. It wasn't a personnel issue. And LSU is banking on that. It'll be interesting to see if that's the change for the medical staff is, hey, look, let's change some processes. We didn't put you guys in a position to succeed because the way we were communicating with you, you need to give us some grace on your communication. We're all working for the same thing here. We don't need to be going head to head. But I do think it reached such a boiling point that something has to be done. Something. Like, it simply has to. So I'm not here reporting this, that, or the other about the medical staff. I just think any rational, reasonable human being saw how they were getting drug all over Twitter. The optics, it's not unlike the Seth Luttrell optics, right? I mean, Seth Luttrell needed to get fired when he got fired. The offense didn't really stand a chance of all of a sudden just becoming amazing. But you had to do it to show that, like, what does Brent Venables say in every press conference? Standards of Oklahoma. That's unacceptable. It was an unacceptable performance today. Standards of Oklahoma are much higher than that. Okay, cool. Well, if you say it's unacceptable, what are you going to do about the unacceptable nature of it? Are you going to make a change? Okay, well, you made a change with Seth Luttrell, and then you made a change with Joe John by going and getting Ben Arbuckle. Cool. Where else are you going to make a change? So I would expect some processes to change, not a lot of personnel to change. Ground crew was on the struggle bus there for a minute. Here's the thing. I'm proud to call Jason Fairs a friend. Jason Fairs, like once I found out that he was going to be leaving, I was like, Fields just not going to look as good. Like it's just not going to look as good. Jason is the GOAT when it comes to that kind of stuff. And, like college athletics in general, you have a lot of people to pay. It is a massive operation. And now that you're adding $20 million of the revenue share to the players, you're going to have to make some tough decisions. And I'm happy for Jason now. He's got a really good gig going. But you just get what you pay for if you're part of the if you think the ground's crew, it didn't have the field looking great, like, okay, cool. Like I never saw the field look like that under Jason. And I know this feels like sour grapes. I mean, no pun intended, but like they got to figure it out and they'll be better for it and whatnot. But there are consequences to, having to pay $20 million to players that you never had to pay to them before. There are consequences to that. I don't know the answer to this question, T-Boo. I will say this about it, though. Not Nick specifically, but if you do miss a lot of time with an injury, say miss the end of the season or the whole season, who knows? If you do that and enter the portal, do not then post video about how healthy you are and how ready to go you are, and not expect fans to treat you some type of way. Because it's, all of you in the chat now and all of you watching on Twitter and everything like that, I'm pro player, right? I'm a pro player mobility, pro NIL, pro that kind of guy, right? Like free market, go get your money. But I'm also anti stupidity. And I think it's really dumb to post when people have been begging you to get back on the field all year and you're making a good NIL money, begging you to get back on the field. And all of a sudden you go in the portal and, oh, look at me. I'm all good. I feel great. Like, you're going to get treated poorly. So I don't want to hear you crying whenever you get treated poorly. Like, it is what it is. Like, not even I don't know. I didn't see it if there was one, but there wasn't any like Andrell note to Sooner Nation. Thank you for blah, blah, blah. First of all, have any of you guys seen that from Jackson? I don't know. I was yapping too much, so my scar went out. Yeah, D hit it on the head right here. It's like calling into work sick, posting your socials that you're going to see a movie. Funny story. One of my best friends, for those of you that don't know, I was in the restaurant industry for a long time. One of my now good friends. He sat with me here on my patio and watched football and smoked cigars. He was working for me at the time. He did not come into work because he said he had COVID on New Year's Eve. And on Snapchat, I saw him out at a bar drinking from a bottle of champagne, somebody else's Snapchat of him on video. And he looks at it and goes, "No, I can't be on video." And she still put it on Snapchat. So, been there, D, done that. So, so I did ask about Jackson Arnold's letter to Sooner Nation. This is the only time Kirby's going to get his message up here when I'm in charge. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I won't read it, but those of you can. Yeah, Derek, like this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, right? Is putting that out there. You don't need to put that out there. Like, Andrel, you've been in the portal before. You've been recruited before. You don't need to put in the portal that you don't need to put on Twitter that you're healthy. People are still going to call you. Like right when you get into the portal when you announce, or your agent's calling them, or you're calling them, or you're sliding into DMs of dudes you recruited you in the past. Like, there's no, like, can you guys list other players that have done that? Like, that enter the portal, like big time players that have entered the portal and then put out film of themselves working out? Because I haven't. So the optics, again, the optics weren't great. I don't even know if Andrel's ended up anywhere. I mean, I know Nick's at Oregon. I know Farouk might have a bag dropped on him from Maryland to go back up home, but I haven't seen if Andrel's ended up anywhere. I don't know, which is kind of interesting. Let's see. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's the optics may go far enough to negatively impact maybe his NIL, maybe not his recruitment, but maybe like you're coming off injury and now we might think that you might not play if you're healthy. Yeah, I don't think we're going to give you that extra $100,000 that we talked about. I mean, did I say Nick was at Oregon? I meant LSU. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. No, Nick's at LSU. Yes, Nick came here from Oregon as a flipped commit, and then yes, he ended up at LSU. Coming to a basketball game anytime. Of course. Hopefully they pull this out, against Michigan in the Jumpman Invitational. Would be a big game. First of all, did you see that idiot Ohio State writer that ranked Oklahoma State as the number 10 team in the country and didn't rate Oklahoma on the last AP ballot because he mistook Oklahoma State for Oklahoma? And that's what made us drop in the rankings, is one guy ranking us out, not ranking us in the top 25. I'm a big believer in having to be held accountable for your votes. This is for MVP voting. This is for Heisman voting. If you voted, Will Howard first for no reason, I got a Heisman vote. Like, okay, well, you don't have a Heisman vote anymore. Like, simple as that. Like, if you have an AP vote and you rank Oklahoma State 6-3 Oklahoma State at number 10, fresh off of getting bodied by Oklahoma, and you don't rank Oklahoma simply because you don't care enough about your vote as an AP voter to check between those two boxes, then if you don't care enough about your vote, then fine, you don't have to have one. That's fine. Let's take our jobs a little bit more seriously. How about that? I mean, a lot of people would love to be AP voters. Would love to be AP voters. So it's a decently big deal. So just pay attention next time. Even if I don't care if you're box score watching. Just know what team you're picking. Do better. This is another good one. Yes, Thompson went to Mississippi State, which was interesting because I think a lot of people thought Jackson would end up there because of that reason, right? Like you saw Van Buren enter the portal, you saw all these Mississippi State guys enter in the portal, and then Brennan Thompson go, and you're like, oh, well, this is Jackson's just going there. Simple as that. And then Jackson ends up at Auburn. Pretty wild. But Thompson to Mississippi State makes a ton of sense. And he's got speed. Levy wants to throw the deep ball and run jet sweeps, which is, I'm sure, what the comments are going to be next. But this is one of the most important questions. Mr. Todd Donnan, Hall of Famer Todd Donnan, maybe next Marshall head coach Todd Donnan, who knows? But who's going to the bowl game and where is the party Thursday night? I am actually going to be doing radio from Tulsa for the bowl game. We will be, if you are in Tulsa, hit me up. We're going to be doing it from Bourbon and Ash Cigar Bar. Game's obviously at 11, but I will be doing post-game radio from there for 2 hours. So going to be watching the game at the Cigar Bar, Bourbon and Ash, 61st and Sheridan here in Tulsa. And then I will be doing 2 hours of post-game radio on KREF afterwards. So if you are going to be OU Club of Fort Worth always knows where the party's at. She knows all about that. So check out OU Club of Fort Worth. I think she's already posting stuff about like where they're doing meetups and all kinds of stuff like that. I know Tyler's going to be at the Broadmoor for his like Christmas vacation that he does every year. And then Josh Helmer and I are going to be doing post-game radio on KREF. So, yeah, we'll have to get drinks. We come watch a game. I'll tell you what, I'll be there before the season's over, or before baseball season starts, because I got to get some basketball in, come back for baseball, do some double headers. Speaking of Todd, you let me know. We'll go to a basketball game. All right, Kirby, you got up there again. It was interesting. I didn't read the comments on it, but DJU declaring for the draft. There are always some players that declare for the draft instead of just say like, thank you, I'm out. And I mean, OU has had one of those where it's like declaring for the draft. I mean, I'm wishing you the best, but you know, if some other guys that have played at OU defensive line, that other guys that have played OU didn't get drafted, I'm not sure this particular person was. Who knows? Maybe I could be wrong. It's nothing personal. I just could be wrong. Let's see. Marvin Jones Jr. Is he going to visit? You mean the once commit, silent commit to Oklahoma? I don't know. That was a Jamar Cain special. I don't doubt that OU would like him to visit. I don't know. That's a guy, especially with how high he was ranked and where he went to play, and he's going to cost a lot. Doesn't have a ton of production, and it's always funny when you see the Hayes Fawcett announcement that this guy's entering the portal or whatever. There's a couple things, like there's 3 different ways you can announce their stats, right? Like contextualize their history. You can either say was a top 50 recruit in the class of 2022 per on 3 or whatever. So that usually tells you, okay, this guy was a high recruit, but he hasn't done much, in his time. And then the other one is this guy has 100 tackles, 10 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, and a PBU in his career. And then you look at his career and he's like a 5th-year senior. You're like, it's 20 tackles a year. What are you talking about? You have like 2 TFLs a year. Like, what are we doing here? And then you have was coming off like the singular season. So I like to look at him and just see, hey, look, I just want to see what you did last season. I don't want to see any was a top recruit years ago, or hey, his career stats are this. Don't care. I want to see, what did you do? What have you done for me lately? What did you do last year? Who'd you do it against? And then we can go from there. And were you available? Is it, he was this recruit, but, he's got another year left because he was injured a couple times and this, that, or the other. Like, I don't prioritize those nearly as high. So, yeah, baseball team going to surprise some people. Tell you what, Skip and Ryan and all those guys and Todd and like Reggie, they got a squad, dude. Like they're one of 3 teams, right, with 15 players in the top, whatever 250 or whatever their prospect ranking is over on D1. Like they're loaded. They're gonna have great arms this year. Got a lot of young talent. I'm super excited about OU baseball this year. And I was talking with somebody the other day about season ticket sales. They went for I think he said they doubled from last year. So everybody, SEC ball is here. It's going to be a blast. If you haven't watched those games of games at like Arkansas and Tennessee and all this, like it's awesome. So make sure you get out to them. 1,400, I think, was the number he said. It was at 700 last year, 750 last year, which is pretty impressive. Oh, woo! You know how to get it going. How about them Vikes coming for that 1 seed? Tell you what, Detroit's got their best year ever, and we've got Sam Darnold with the same record. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? So I know everybody says, "Oh, watch out for Green Bay." Watch out for this, that, and the other. Like we beat Green Bay in Lambeau. Nobody remembers that. Funny how that works. But yeah, Vikings come for that 1 seed. If they're able to get that 1 seed, I'm still not re-signing Sam Darnold because he's going to want like $50 million a year, and absolutely not. Absolutely not. You wouldn't be able to sign half the defensive dudes we signed this year if we would have given like Kirk that kind of money. We've got J.J. McCarthy, who can probably do everything that Sam Darnold can do, and he can do it for 10% of the price. Is Horns Down Apple Pie available in DFW? Not yet. They are working on it. It is the next state of distribution. I'm glad you brought it up because I was a little parched. Perfect. So it will be coming to the DFW soon. Horns Down occasionally is in the chat, but not there right now. It's crazy when you don't look at your phone for like an hour because you've been on the pod for 58 and a half minutes. So I do appreciate you guys in the chat, keeping me up with the news, everything like that, even giving me the channel that the OU basketball game was on. Love it. Because on a night like tonight, for me to not look at my phone for an hour, that thing is, I can't even imagine what my Twitter notifications are going to be like. So I appreciate all 4,500 of you in here right now. Why don't you slam that like button? I haven't gone and looked what it is yet, but I'm hoping to see it here a little bit later. Street Viv 6. I'm wondering who else would be part of, like, who you would consider a big portal get. I already talked earlier about Zach Branch. I wouldn't do it because, again, paying a lot of money for not a ton of production, and you're paying even more money for his brother, the safety, who you don't really need. You don't need a safety right now. And then, like, you've got a roster crunch, so now you're adding another body and another NIL payment that you wouldn't have to add if you went and got somebody else. I know, obviously, the left tackle from Washington State, is somebody that Oklahoma fans want badly. As a 3-year starter. I think day 2 draft grade was what he got. But I think he wants to play 1 more year. So we'll see. But I'm just interested to see if anybody else in the chat has any other portal wish list things. I hope you guys all saw the one Oklahoma video that they posted on the "What Do You Want for Christmas?" That was an incredible video. They're doing great work and did great work to secure Mr. John Mateer, and that's why I am join One Oklahoma Trav this evening, because if you want to have more fun nights like tonight, give to One Oklahoma. They know how to spend your money well. Austin McDaniel brought up Zachariah Branch again. I think he's a really good player, but I think that his highlight plays are awesome. They are that. They are highlights. I don't think he has a ton of production outside of them. And USC fans will tell you, hey, look, we're not considering that all that big of a loss. Surely it was a high rated prospect. And he had some, kick returns, things like that were just crazy. But I don't know. I just don't think the NIL money, because of an expensive guy like Mateer and because of re-signing guys like the Bowen brothers and hopefully R. Mason Thomas and RSJ and Dominic Williams and all these guys that are expensive to retain, David Stone, right? Like you want to spend the money wisely on acquisitions on the offensive side of the ball. Well, when rosters are crunching, you don't have an extra spot for his brother. And he said they're a package deal. Zion and Zach are package deals. So we've seen that before, right? The Overton brothers, the Shetron brothers. Who else? Not just ones that are brothers, but one's very, very good and the other one isn't as good, but they still get the offer. Anyways, we see it a bunch. And as rosters get crunched and as revenue share turns inside, I don't think you'll see it very much. So, yeah, good punt kickoff returner, sure. I'd like to see Deion Burks back there personally, but I'm all about, hey, Jack Puckett from UCO would not mind bringing in a Bixby Spartan. I like me some Bixby Spartans. Coach Montgomery's built a wagon down there, and we like wagons, specifically the covered variety here in Norman, Oklahoma. So, yeah, I would love somebody like that, but, linebacker, it really doesn't feel like, maybe you can go after a Troy Bowles or something like that. I just don't see a ton of linebackers needed right now. I mean, obviously you lose Danny, got Phil Picciotti, but, James Nesta has been with football. You've got Kip, you got Lewis, you got Sammy, you got, Kobe, who, congratulations on the engagement, Kobe. You've been on our channel many times. So friend of the program. Appreciate you. Let's see. Troy Bowles would be huge, yes. Georgia Tech offensive tackle. I think it would be a good pickup. I don't want to run off young tackles. Like as crazy as it sounds, if you ask me, would I take the Georgia Tech tackle or would I take Logan Howland? I would honestly probably take Logan Howland. He's been in the system. He's developing quickly. Like, he's got a lot of eligibility left. He's got nice continuity and communication and relationship with Heath Ozaida, who's going to be playing left guard. Like, again, you guys will hear it from me a lot. I like continuity. Now, if you can get a guy like the Washington State tackle, sure. That's a ready-made NFL player, good to go. And you've still got a lot of eligibility and Howland behind him if you need. But I will always lean towards let the guys develop. Let the talent develop. You've got a lot of talent up there. Chances of Farouk change of heart and finishes it out. Botchner, is this OU Christie? Anyways, I don't think Jaleel Farouk finishes out. I was hearing some numbers that the Terps might pay to bring him home, and I don't think OU would come close to matching those numbers. So I do think he's a program guy. I think he is, but at a certain point, I don't think Jaleel Farouk is a guaranteed NFL draft guy. So at that point, you have to look at your finances and say, hey, look, do I take as much money as I can in the NIL market now, coming off an injury, or do I, stay somewhere like this and try and develop into a pro player? You know what I mean? Farouk's injury history as of late will not help him, but let's see. The Washington State receiver is worth a look. Their best receiver doesn't have any eligibility left, Williams. Their second best receiver is in the portal. Now, I don't know if it's hey, look, Washington State's roster is going to get raided because their head coach is gone and their offensive coordinator is gone and everybody's just going to go out and chase bags everywhere. I don't know if Mateer has his list of guys that says, hey, man, I want to throw this guy again. I want to throw to this guy again. Or I want to hand the ball off to this guy again. I want to get protected, my blind side protected by that guy again. I don't know. I'd imagine he would have a little bit of pull there because not only are you paying him an exorbitant amount, allegedly, I should say, but you have familiarity there and you have guys that know the system. So there are advantages to bringing guys to know the system. What's interesting is, if you guys remember when Jeff Levy first got to town, he didn't bring anybody, right? No positional coaches. Now, Joe John was his pass game coordinator in 2020, but he basically had him and Dylan, who hadn't run the offense for a year, teaching everybody the offense. So that install takes a long time. So with this, I think that Washington State players would get bumped up a little bit more. Sorry, I put the wrong question up there. Would get bumped up a little bit more simply because it's another person in the room that knows the offense, knows the system, right? So you can at least turn to that person and say, hey, man, what you got going on here? So what's happening with USC? Well, if you were to ask, Matt Leinart, he would say karma, but it's bad. There's really no other way to put it. The offensive guru is losing his offensive players. Yeah, he's got a couple guys in this next class, but much like we saw at Oklahoma, he gets worse as it goes on, right? There are a lot of people that forget that in Oklahoma seasons, they got worse and worse and worse and worse, right? Everybody says, well, look at how many games Lincoln Riley won. Yeah, I get it. Well, the first year he was here, playoff, right? Iconic game, right? Overtime game. Next year, made it to the playoff, got beat pretty badly. Next year, made it to the playoff, got wiped off the face of the earth by 2019 Joe Burrow. Next year, won the Big 12, didn't make the playoff. And then next year, didn't make the Big 12 championship. And then I believe he was gone. I think I have those in order. But, what? You go, that's a straight line down. And now at USC, first year, 10 wins, 11 wins, something like that? The next year, 8-5. The next year, 6-6, with no optimism necessarily about it. I don't know. I think somebody needs to leverage being in Los Angeles. I know everybody always looks over there and they're like, man, LA, all this money. Somebody's got to tap into it. The homes are, 10 times the price here. So they can afford to, add on a little bit more to LA NIL. Do you think we get the Washington State corner? Where are you spending the rest of our NIL? When you say the rest, I'm gonna say what my top priorities would be. I don't want it all spent here, but there are some things that I think that OU just should do. I think make sure our Mason Thomas and Dominic Williams return. I think shoring that up should be number one priority. I think if we're just looking at acquisitions, I would love the Washington State corner to come. Outside of that, maybe you could add another tight end, maybe. I don't see OU going nuts on the defensive side of the ball just with all they have coming back. I would like to go get another interior defensive lineman to replace DJ Terry. But I don't know. I just don't think – I don't think it's a situation where you go out and, try and get – try and spend just to spend. I think you've done a good job finding value in the portal so far, knowing that you had to retain some guys, going out and getting the first, second, and third most important thing, which was getting John Mateer. And you just go get you fill in with a corner, you fill in with a defensive lineman. You're good at safety, you're good at linebacker, you're good at edge. You lose production there, obviously, but I think you've got talent in the room. Yeah. So, I mean, I basically anywhere but Zachariah Branch and Zion Branch, personally. Tate, appreciate you. Our Vikings, gonna take care of any sorrows you might have. And here's the thing. And this isn't just towards Tate, he's a Miami guy. I don't believe that Miami was ever really in it. And I think it probably made Mateer a little bit more money. But, guys, we've seen this over and over, haven't we? We saw it when everybody, hey, Arbuckle's going to be the guy. Oh, no, Utah, late, 50-50. Maybe we won't even get our guy. All of a sudden, Faulkner and Craddock surging. Arbuckle's on to the next day. Okay. Fasusi, flip watch. Oh, man. Click here to read the latest in the flip watch. Oh, well, Fasusi signed, and Colin Kennedy afterwards was like, yeah, did you know there was supposed to be some big announcement? He's like, oh, I just signed. He's got OU stuff all over. He had no idea. And then with Brent Venables hiring, right, it was, oh, it's Dan Lanning, it's Dabo Sweeney, Lane Kiffin was on the phone, all these Dave Aranda. You started to see all these names. It was Brent Venables all along. It's interesting because you always see this. And I get it. I contribute to OU Insider. I do podcasts with them. And I realize that it is a subscription model, right? So it's good for subscription model. And On3 was terrible about it this cycle. National. I mean, the Scoop guys, the actual Scoop staff has always been very friendly to me. I enjoy them. But the On3 national guys, your Pete Nakos, things like that. Pete Nakos didn't include Oklahoma and Miami in his initial report when Mateer entered the portal. And then the next day, he put in the first national prediction for Mateer to land at Oklahoma. And then the next day, he reports that Miami's surging. So Miami was supposed to surge, but they had time for Mateer to shoot a promotional video for One Oklahoma, them to edit that, get it all posted for the announcement. The late smoke, we saw with Devon Mitchell. We saw it with David Stone. We really have to be critical and skeptical of late smoke, because so much of it is leverage to get more money, but a lot of it is pay sites that want to tell you, oh, read the latest. We've got the latest. We've got the latest. And everybody does it. I'm not singling out anybody. And if you feel like I'm singling you out, then maybe you do it. You know what I mean? But everybody does it. Everybody that charges to get behind a paywall, that's how they market, right? Is, hey, we've got this information that you thought was a lock, and turns out it's not. Well, turns out it is, actually. Turns out it was a lock the whole time. Arbuckle, for my money, Arbuckle was a lock and Mateer was a lock. That's my kind of opinion on Miami's late efforts. I mean, and you go talk to Miami reporters are like, Miami's selling him on Cam Ward, returning offensive line, stable of running backs, great tight ends. They're going to get wide receivers in the portal, and their defense, they're going to shore it up. And then, yeah, again, familiarity with Cam Ward. They're pitching him on that. Yeah, we know that already. Like, that's not, we don't, like, the question isn't, hey, Miami mod or Miami insider. The question was not, what is the pitch to Mateer? Everybody with a brain knows the pitch to Mateer that Miami would have, right? It's, do we have a chance with Mateer? And that was never something that Miami insiders, that I saw at least, were ever confident with. Just like Texas insiders, outside of a couple idiots, not my guys like Nash and Ghost and those guys are awesome. There were some guys, like, or most of them said, no, it's still Oklahoma for Fasusi. Like, it's still Oklahoma for Fasusi. A&M was like, yeah, it's still Oklahoma for Fasusi. But you got all these national reporters saying, flip watch, the nation's, number 2 offensive tackle, blah, blah, blah. He's on flip watch. No, he wasn't. Not when you talk to anybody that actually had an insider opinion of it. So, and I'm not talking about me in the sense, like, the term insider is getting a bad name these days, but like, anybody that would know from the programs that allegedly were making late surges, they didn't know at all. So it's kind of weird how that always keeps coming up. And I think there's 2 reasons it happens. I think it's, one, to sell subscriptions. I get it. But I do think it leaks from the program sometimes, because I think they want to make it seem that we cast a wide net. Oh, remember when Brent Venables said he's got candidates lining up to the Gulf of Mexico for the job? Like, what? Like, do you? I mean, I've been an Arbuckle guy this entire time. Like, that's well documented. But it's funny, like, administrations want to, and I think part of it is because people called the Seth hire a lazy hire. Like, and Brent said that he made a mistake in that, got the wrong guy. But I think the optics are, look at this wide net that we cast. Look at this wide net. And we got the best of the best. Okay, cool. That's awesome. But sometimes I think it's, if I were the guy that already had agreed to the job, I'd be like, what do you mean you're casting a wide net? What do you mean you're doing this? I thought I was already agreeing to a deal. Pretty crazy. My boy Nash here in the comments, we were talking a little speculation a while ago, so I had to revisit that conversation with Nash. Nash, for those of you that don't know Nash, he is the famous Texas content creator that had a little bit of a meltdown after he was the one that penned the phrase. What was it? We kicked their ass and we lost. That guy, that's Nash. So he's a good dude. Good dude for sure. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like, On 3 was like, oh man, Miami makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Is whatever. But we are right on a scale of 5,000 people in here. Appreciate you guys. We are at about an hour 20. So I appreciate you guys tuning in on Twitter, on YouTube. I do think that you all ought to like the video, because with 5,000 people watching, come on, let's get those likes up. What are we doing here? We got it. JP's at home on meds with looking like a pear because he got his wisdom teeth removed. Yeah, let's get those likes up. David Holdaway says, what's funny is the insiders that trash the other guys with proven inside information that have hit multiple reports recently and discredit them because they are the new guy on the street that obviously has better info. Here's the thing, and I know who you're talking about. It's very obvious. I think there is a need for guys like Cap 405 in the market, because I think they will report things that the staff or administration or whatever don't want out. But isn't that kind of what you want news to be? If I'm the fan base, like, for me, I want to make sure everything, like, I want to do whatever I can to help the university, keep me in a good light. Like, I will do whatever to help that. But, like, certain side of the media relies on credentials, right, for access. and they write great stories. Parker might be the best writer on the beat, writes beautiful, beautiful pieces, in-depth pieces. You've got guys that are connected to recruiting. You've got George over at Sooner Scoop, who always brings out the Board of Regents stuff, does a fantastic job. Like, you've got guys that do things that you have to have credentials to do, right? Board of Regents stuff, reporting what the university does, right? You've got guys that need to be at press conferences to ask questions, right? And then, in my opinion, you need guys like Cap 405 to be like almost the TMZ of college sports, where they're hanging out in the bushes, getting the scoop that, maybe the organization or the athletic department doesn't want getting out. I think for a fan, both sides of that are valuable. So I don't know. I think part of the problem with that right now is I think they're both worked up with each other a lot, and they're both trying to, or at least one is thinking the other is trying to fit in their lane. And I just don't think they are. I think both sides of it are necessary parts of the media for the full fan experience. And so I do believe that there's value in both. I think it's silly to think that only Sooner Scoop does everything the right way and it's only the media you'll ever need, all that. I think the same way about OU Insider. I work for them. I think the same way about Sooners Illustrated and the Mainline Pod and this pod and Cap 405 and all that. Like, anybody that has the ego that says we are the one-stop shop and we will report you everything as we know it, the information is going to flow. Like, it's just not the case. And people just need to be okay with that. People need to be okay. And some people are giving constant information and others aren't, because they might get their revenge, their sources burned, or they may get their credentials pulled or anything like that. Like, no, protect your job, feed your family. Like, that's your livelihood. But it's just, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I think for the total fan experience, you need every version of the media that OU currently seems like it has. So to stomp that out, I think would be silly. So anyways, again, I appreciate all you guys. Thanks, David, for saying that so I could get on my soapbox a little bit. So anyways, appreciate you all for coming in. There's over 5,000 of you in here right now. So excited. Thank you so much for being part of the stream tonight. Hopefully next week we'll have even more, because we've got more good news on the way. We've got more to just kind of wrap up in general. We've got a bowl game to talk about. I know that's crazy. We've got the playoffs to talk about. Playoffs. Nash will probably be wanting to talk about the playoffs a little bit, I imagine. My buddies Ghost and all those guys. So anyways, like, comment, subscribe. If you're over on the Twitter side, hop over to the YouTube side. Give it a like. Give it a subscribe. I'd like to get to 3,000 subscribers soon. I didn't even know until JP said it the other day. I think we're at like 2,500 or 2,400. I have no idea. But appreciate you guys tuning in, all 5,070 of you. I've got the Hoops game right behind me. Looks like we're at the free throw line down 58-54. I'm going to hop off of here. I'm going to smoke the rest of the cigar, and I'm going to watch the rest of this basketball game. So, again, holler at me, at Travis Cole. Follow the JP and Trav Show on Twitter. Like, comment, subscribe, do all those fun things. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Keep me company.